I don't need to pitch any execs on that.
No.
Would you say I have a plethora?
Yo, it's just easy money, yo.
Too easy. No.
Now that streamer might, which already has Stranger Things and Squid Game and is now maybe going to take over Game of Thrones and White Lotus and Lanterns. Do you know how much money they can make over the course of the year if they do this with the right shows?
Oh, yes. You have a plethora.
What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Gym Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me as always is Mr. Brian Schultz. The Void, one of our favorite episodes to do because we get to talk about a lot of different things. WBD sale updates. Warner Brothers Discovery rejects.
I said no. Hell no.
Paramount and their offer. And Netflix reportedly aiming at a 17-day theatrical window. There was a headline, Brian, about other studios or other people that kind of do this already, correct?
Yeah, but
Stranger Things cinema experiment is big. What did we say in terms of the possibilities of this? This was very interesting. And it turns out to be a headline that we sort of say to ourselves, like, is this the future? I believe it is. Coogler talks like X-Files update. He does things that excites him, as someone should. You should be excited about what you want to create. He exudes that. James Cameron offered to help on Godzilla Minus Zero, which I'm like, yo, I get it. James Cameron is the man. But I'd be like, sure, I'll have conversations with you and stuff like that, but no way. I need to do the way I did it the first time. And He-Man knew behind the scenes footage. I sent this to Brian.
Yeah.
And yo, they're going for some stuff here, yo.
Yeah. Second time I've seen him training, and both have been this style. So we'll talk about it. Yeah.
So, latest with the WB Discovery updates, Brian. What's going on there in the latest with Paramount's offer?
We'll try to keep the back padding to a minimum for this episode. But look, I mean, I think you have a short to this effect where we broke down the latest attempt by Paramount with the Larry Ellison personal guarantee. And I think what I said at the time was they're going to reject it. And they're going to go a few rounds. So now here we are. They're rejecting it. Still maintain they're going to go a few rounds. You'll probably see a bid get raised. A few more cards being played on either side to try to get final resolution. But we're going round and round. And again, as I said, the posture of Warner Brothers is clearly the board and Zaslav want to sell to Netflix. So they're going to try to make that happen. And Paramount's job is to make it uncomfortable to the point where shareholders come to their side, or the board cannot ignore its fiduciary duty and has to basically either take a clearly superior Paramount offer if we get there, or bring that offer back to Netflix and say, hey, give us a kiss so we can get you the win, which is a lot of times how this goes.
Man.
And then it's just, when does the math start to not make sense? So I think everything here is, as Palpatine would say, everything is proceeding according to plan. Yeah, I think everything's kind of going according to plan right here. So the next step you're looking for is will Paramount raise a bid? The actual bid value, right? So they would say, look, Ellison's guarantee is value. Yeah, maybe, fair. But there's also been rumors they would go to $33 a share, a 10% increase in their deal value. That's probably the next play to try to make their offer seem clearly superior. So,
well, you said, they want to make the deal with Netflix. If they do raise the offer, what does Netflix then still have to do? Because WBD, like you said, they want to sell to Netflix, and they've already said yes, here. You know what I'm saying? At whatever price. What does this force Netflix to sort of kind of have to do if Paramount were to raise the bid?
Yeah. So, I mean, the components that you would play are the obvious, right? So Netflix could increase the cash component of its own bid. They have a bigger currency to do that. They could change the stock component of the deal to make it more favorable for Warner Brothers. I think the other thing they could do, like I said, is they could come up with a solution for the networks. So that would be, I think, a big way for Netflix to really win value here would be like if so this is, they don't want the channels, right? We know that. But if they found that third party partner and they said, we have your solution, we're going to crystallize the value of the networks. Those networks are now going to be worth $5 a share. That would be a big number because Paramount says they're worth like $1. And history would say that Paramount is closer to right. So like if they found, whether it's Comcast or a private equity firm or somebody to come in and say, look, you're going to buy the channels. It's real money. It's going to make that like actual value. It's going to satisfy the powers that be, that CNN ownership is going to change hand, is going to be worth $5 or $4.50. That's a way they can increase their bid value and make it superior overall. Because right now Paramount is offering that crystal value for the networks because they want the whole thing. So they said Netflix has tools to increase this. They also have, Netflix also has, as we know, because of how much the guilds hate them, Netflix also has stuff they could try to come up with concessions wise there, which would help win approval, right? So that would, now, the other thing we're going to talk about with theatrical window is definitely not helping that cause at all. But there are things they could do, right? As we talked about, guarantee X amount of films to theater for this long, for this many screens, for this many years. Those are things Netflix can add into their bid without actually raising the bid that actually, in theory, make it more valuable or more palatable. So again, we've seen this before in other industries. It will go back and forth. There will be some ping pong. And my guess is you will see the numbers go higher on both sides at least one more time before this is over. It won't go interminably, but there is a number where Zaslav will change his tune.
For God's sake, just give me the damn number!
If Paramount could justify and get Ellison and whoever else to commit a high enough number in cash, Warner Brothers will change sides. But their preference clearly is to go with Netflix if it's even or close. But the theatrical thing, I mean, again,
It
when we broke this
people
down, we told you what this was about.
But it makes sense when you think about it, yo. If they can, like you said, create buzz and interest enough of it from people who are already subscribed and seeing the trailers for this on Netflix that they don't have to really spend money on. And it'll drive people to the theaters every 2 weeks. 50 mil, 20, 30, 40, 50 mil, depending on how much they make it for, you know what I'm saying? They're putting out movies that seem interesting, and they would have to make these theater experiences. It can't be, and I hate to say it, the way they do it now is they throw it up on the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
There has to be a thoughtful approach to it in terms of what you put up on screen and what people are going in there for. That's the whole purpose of that commercial, man.
For magic.
That's the whole purpose of it.
But as we said, a big part of getting WB gives Netflix leverage over the theaters. To my mind, you can ignore every public comment Ted Sarandos wants to make about Netflix honoring Warner Brothers industry standard theatrical windows. He has to do that contractually for a period of time. So that's an empty comment. Second is, this is the same guy who a few months ago was basically like, the world has spoken and people want to watch stuff at home. They don't want to go to the theater. You can't take that back because that's what you said before you were in the middle of this deal. So, you know, those are the stripes. Those are the stripes, right, on the cat.
Yeah.
So the idea that you would want Warner Brothers down to a 17-day theatrical window is exactly in line with what we said. Like right now, it's around 30 days. We guessed 14 to 17 days on our analysis show, and how we're hearing 17 is what they want. So they can get that stuff onto the service. And as we said, if you think about what 17 days is, and it's an average of 17, let's be clear. 17 days on average, by definition, is 2.5 weeks. That is exactly what we said, where Netflix kind of looks at it as those first 3 weeks, a big movie makes the vast majority of its money.
So
and they would rather put a new movie in
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then 2 weeks after that, and that's it.
And I think if you're an Avengers movie or a Batman movie, you probably get another weekend, right? At least beyond that, because they're a bigger movie. And then you have a smaller movie that you would get less than that, and it averages out to 17. But the point is velocity. Their argument is, even if it is a Batman movie, by week 4, by week 5, we're better off having the next movie be in its opening weekend than having Batman take up 3,000 screens. That's the argument.
Netflix theaters are coming, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first on the Ninja Report.
We've been saying this for years. This is the thing. We've been saying this since COVID. We brought this up. Literally, you can go back to our shows in 2020 and 2021. We talked about, during the height of the streaming wars, would any of these guys buy a theater chain? And I think it's going to happen. I think we're getting closer. I think we had an event over the holidays, which could not deliver a louder and clearer message to Netflix of all people that there's money to be made doing this. And yeah, I just think there's no way if they get control of Warner Brothers, there's no way that theatrical windows aren't coming down further and the velocity of film isn't going up ultimately. Once they get through the existing contracts, that's clearly what they're going to do.
Hey, I'm cool with seeing what this turns out to be and being able to see your favorite show with other like-minded people.
Yeah, so let's go right there, because this has been the second we saw this headline, you and I were all over this, and we said this was going to be a big freaking deal. And I would say it probably went past even any expectation we had. Were you around the theater by chance around December 31st or January 1st?
No, I wasn't.
I was.
Okay.
So when I went to see Avatar the second time, it was at a theater that had Stranger Things. So there were only 620 screens in the nation that did this. That theater was hopping. People were wearing the gear. It was Stranger Things t-shirts, all ages. People were all over that stuff. They weren't there to see Avatar. We had a couple people on our screen. They weren't there to see Zootopia or Housemaid. The people you saw in the theater were wearing Stranger Things merchandise. That was the event. I will put these numbers in terms you can all understand. Stranger Things only showed for 2 days, less than 2 days, right? It was basically the night of the 31st through the day of January 1st. Estimated $25 to $28 million in box office. You're like, that's a nice number. Hold up. Okay. A normal opening weekend would have what? Friday night, Saturday full day, Sunday full day. So you have to take the 25 to 28 and expand it because they didn't show it for 3 days. So you have to put at least another day on that. So very safely, that's a $40 million plus opening weekend with no Thursday preview. Hang on. 620 screens. Do you know how many screens a big movie comes out on? 4,000. So multiply 40 by 6.5. That is a $260 million U.S. opening weekend. That would be the second biggest opening weekend of all time behind Avengers Endgame. Of all time.
And if Netflix had theaters?
Has all their money.
The math is easy on that.
I mean, that's the Michael T. Williamson from Heat, right?
But I don't have to sell this, and you know it, because this kind of shit sells itself.
I don't need to pitch any execs on that.
No. Yo, that's just too easy.
Now that streamer might, which already has Stranger Things and Squid Game and is now maybe going to take over Game of Thrones and White Lotus and Lanterns. Do you know how much money they can make over the course of the year if they do this with the right shows?
With the right characters?
Because this doesn't get old, right? These shows have their hives. Yeah, there's some overlap, but they all have their hives. And it's these people won't get tired of this. Second biggest opening weekend of all time.
You're selling experiences.
Now, again, you can't do it for every episode. You can't do it for every show. But the point is, they threw this together on less than 2 months' notice, and they gave it to 600 screens in select cities. This was a blockbuster event. That you can't ignore that.
Yeah.
I'll throw out another thing. We're talking about shows.
Mhm.
You know, Netflix shows, you know, they're starting to show championship boxing. I mean, the rumored take on like the Jake Paul Anthony Joshua fight was enormous. It's like they could throw that in theater. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can put in that format with the right buildup, and they have the analytics to see who's following it.
And check this out. Pay-per-view is dead after that.
It's certainly a big strike against that. And it's like, I think Netflix also controls part of WWE now, right? They show Raw or whatever. So it's like you start putting WrestleMania where you can't go to WrestleMania in person, but you can watch it with your people at a couple of
In a big screen with a dope experience.
A plethora.
This was just the beginning, man. This is Pandora's box of something else here.
And Netflix, if you're watching,
we told you 5 years ago to do this. Think how much more you're going to pay for a theater chain now than no, I'm just kidding. But like, yeah, it makes too much sense.
Yeah, it's a good business, man. Because again, you're selling an experience, man.
And like Stranger Things wasn't our show. Like it wasn't like for you and me, it wasn't our show.
Yeah.
But like our shows are out there. Right? It's like you think about even shows now, it's like, would you have seen like a Penguin finale there? Like I said, would you see a Lanterns finale? Like we would. Like there's definitely shows out there that like, you know, they finally get this Assassin's Creed show going. It's like that comes big. Like there's all sorts of things that like different audiences will find. And we will certainly do our share of that when we see this was eye-opening stuff. We had high expectations, eye-opening stuff.
And you can go even deeper. You can, like, if you want to see every episode in the theater, rent the movie. Because not everybody's going to come out, but probably some people will want to rent a movie theater of 20 or something like that and make a business out of that.
But if Netflix owned the theater, like they could have binged the show. Like they could have been like, hey,
imagine.
And the end of it will be, and there's, you know, are you going to do huge box for all the episodes? No. But are you going to get a lot of like fans and communities who are like, hey, I just want to be part of that. I want to come and go, get my snacks throughout the day and like rewatch some episodes and then catch the finale. Yeah, that's eventizing the experience. And that's all this is about.
Yeah. Coogler on X-Files.
Yeah, just dropping a little knowledge here and there. I'm excited. He sounds pretty excited. The more he starts to talk about it, the more it sounds like it is a true homage to the David Duchovny, Gillian Anderson style series, where he talks about he is going to preserve the sort of episodic monster creature of the week motifs that they had with the sort of broader alien UFO conspiracy storyline. So he is bringing both of those back. Now, of course, we know it's him, so he's going to sort of modernize it, you know, and do sort of, he's going to Coogler it a bit. But it sounds like he said, like to Carwitz again, he said, I want scary, classic monster of the week episodes. Like I really want to focus a lot on that. So I'm like, great. I think this is actually on Disney Plus. I think that's where this show is going. I don't know if I knew that, but I think that's who actually is commissioned, because Fox was the channel that hosted the X-Files. So I think Disney is the one, controlling this. So it's still kind of in the Disney house. So yeah, I'm fired up. So this will hit sometime before he goes and does Black Panther 3.
And Disney needs this
Yep.
sort of content, exclusivity from Ryan Coogler. The name is huge. And he's really shown a lot of shown an interesting approach. He's dedicating a lot of this to his mom, who's a big X-Files fan, and he wanted to pay homage to her, and creating something that he also enjoyed himself, and do something to given the possibility, the opportunity to do that is huge. If he's so attentive to detail, and every decision that he sort of makes, when it comes to certain looks and things, the way he wants to see it is inspired by something that he thought was dope. So I'm interested in seeing what that's going to look like. James Cameron offered to help. What's the director's name of
Takashi Yamazaki.
Takashi Yamazaki? He's the guy behind Godzilla -1. And so he's doing his next one, Godzilla -0. And James Cameron offered to help him in, I guess, whatever way he can.
Yeah, he said he would direct the second unit if he fell behind on the production schedule.
Hey, I think that's shows a lot of respect to what he was able to accomplish with that first film, which I think to me is a modern day classic. It's definitely one of those films that you take with you.
Yep.
So him offering that sort of assistance is, I don't know, Brian. How would you? James Cameron just wants to be a part of something dope. And what
he said it.
What do you think
he said
about
it in part in jest. He said it.
Yeah.
He said it in person. He was actually he had Yamazaki on sort of the Avatar promotional tour. They kind of got together on set in Japan to talk about their respective movies, and he kind of said it almost as like a half joke, but as a way of saying I loved -1.
Yeah.
I felt like if Yamazaki was very respectful. He said, "You'll end up taking my job from me if you do." What he should have said is, "If you want to help, man, just cut me a check for give me some help on my effects budget."
Yeah.
Could I even get $5 more million for this? Yeah.
He would definitely like look at the return on that movie. How much did he make that? How much he made that movie? What, 14, 12?
Well, every number is the rumor is 10 to 15, but he's kind of said like that's high. He sort of intimated it. That's a high number. It's actually below that. Yeah.
And what did it make in the box office?
I know it's the highest grossing Godzilla movie that's come out of Japan. So over 100. It was over 113 million against a budget that was rumored to be 10 to 15, but he said lower.
A plethora.
So that's the highest gross.
Those is what you call profits.
Yeah, 10x, 11x returns. Yeah, exactly. And wins an Academy Award, right? So
a 10-bagger in the financial world. You know what I'm saying? If you want to listen, what he did with that movie,
Extraordinary.
Visually and the story, it's like you give that guy whatever he wants. Obviously, you don't go crazy. If you were able to do this, then how much more do you need? You know what I'm saying? But we the discussion is to, give him what he needs in order to make a fantastic movie.
I think it's also, I'm waiting to see, obviously he's living in the Godzilla world and he wants to be there. But that's also, again, when you do work like that, other places should take note and say like, this guy's, because that's, the drama and emotion he's able to capture among the human characters in that movie is remarkable, given that this is a character in a series that oftentimes becomes kind of, almost comic or silly. And this is not that. This is a very serious movie. It sort of has, in some ways, the gravitas of the original Godzilla from way back in 1954. And then, of course, he manages to make it look so frightening and terrifying with so little money, where you're like, this is a guy that if I'm U.S. studios, I'd be having a conversation with him about other things and just seeing like, what is he interested in and what could he do, and giving him a shot. But for now, we'll be excited to see -0. And obviously Cameron's a big fan. But you're right. I mean, Cameron's a dabbler too. I mean, like, this thing, this thing he's doing with Billie Eilish, like I'm curious. Like I said, if you've seen the trailer, like there's some really interesting stuff in there visually, and it's just like, he's open, right? He's talking about the sphere and like wanting to do something there, and he's a geek for the film making experience.
Yeah, yo, because that's what that's about, yo. If you can give people an experience, you done your job. And that's what he's in it for, to give people experiences and new things and, visually. And he's certainly done that with Avatar. He-Man. New behind the scenes footage. I sent this to him a few days ago, and I'm like, what did you think of those behind the scenes footage?
Yes, this is the second time we've seen Gallatin handling a sword in behind the scenes practice. And I think it addresses one of the as many holes in the cartoon, which is that He-Man has this power sword. But if you think about it, he doesn't really ever duel with it. That's not really what he does with the sword, right? He's usually a fists guy, throw the boulder, hold stuff up.
Pound the floor.
It's not a situation where he is going Highlander on his opponents. And so this movie sort of, I think, is trying to address that. So you see in both cases, Gallatin is working through choreography. The swordplay looks pretty fast. And in this case, what you sent me, there's wire work where it's sort of like clearly like a kill shot or a dramatic kind of leaping spin in the air, wielding the sword. And it's like, okay, so we're adding a bit of necessary, I think, almost samurai style or Crouching Tiger style swordplay to make this more interesting as an action piece. I think it had to happen. I'm curious to see how it looks because, again, this is not something the cartoon ever really got into. But I'm encouraged that they're taking the time to do this. And both times I've seen him do it, he looks athletic enough so far to handle it. So I'm excited. I mean, He-Man does need to have, I think, in this movie, like I'm excited. He should have a duel. He should have something like that with Skeletor or other of the foes.
Yeah. I challenged Brian because Brian even said it. I don't know which one is episode 1 of this.
Oh.
Neither did I until I invited my youngest to finally watch He-Man. Then every once in a while you hear him after that. Like a few days later, he's like, He-Man. And it's just while he's doing random stuff. I'm telling you, for kids, it's amazing. I fought through watching this episode. And it's just an episode, Brian. It's just an episode. Watch the first one and you're gonna be like, oh snap, this was the first episode? So I'm interested in seeing your thoughts after or your text or whatever you decide to send me after you see that first episode. But this He-Man behind the scenes footage, man, it just tells me the seriousness in which they're taking this, in terms of how they want to make this look, in terms of his abilities, in terms of what he's capable of doing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do cartwheels if he makes a mirror out of sand, yo. If he does that, yo, that would be amazing. But I can't say any more than what I've said. I still think this movie is gonna make quite a bit of money, even though it's up against some heavy hitters 2 weeks after it. But I think it's gonna be one of those films that you got to see more than once.
Yeah, I think for us certainly we will do that, but we keep waiting on the first teaser. But all signs have been encouraging, and you're right. This is I think it'll be very satisfying if they can take this nostalgia and make it seem both modern and credible and fantastical all at the same time. So yeah, look, I mean, the swordplay is like, it doesn't have to be like the best swordplay you've ever seen, to be clear. I think it's just, as we said, it just has to be like competent because the cartoon, he has the sword, but it's not really a weapon in the purest sense. It's really just more like, it's almost like a staff, like a source of power, literally. Yeah. Although related, I did see, because I know he got injured doing this, I did see a note about, speaking of Highlander, the actual swordplay for that. And apparently there was a comment that either Cavill or Stahelski made about, because they were like, well, you already know how to use a sword from The Witcher. And apparently like the comment was basically like, that will be completely insufficient for what he needs to do for Highlander.
Wow.
And that's saying something, because The Witcher swordplay, he's pretty handy with that thing.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So they're saying that's not even like in the door for what they want to do in this movie. Then that's another one where I'm like, yeah, watch the use of swords and weapons for 2027. But yeah, He-Man for 2026. Can't wait for the teaser. Really excited. I think, we want to spacing these out a little bit. So we still haven't gotten Spider-Man officially, and we still haven't gotten He-Man officially. So that's 2 big ones I think we're looking at for January, Super Bowl, somewhere in that area where we're really dying to see some stuff.
I cannot wait, man. I cannot wait. So yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of this episode of The Void. We got some Warner Brothers update. Obviously we know what the Warner Brothers wants to do and who they want to sort of work with. Paramount is just still hanging on to what they thought was going to happen. They feel bamboozled, led astray, hoodwinked. You know how that story goes. And Stranger Things, man. If you've been watching this show, you already know. That's a good tagline right there. If you've been watching this show, you already know we've been talking about what this could be. And the numbers were out, Mr. Hahn.
Extraordinary.
We need like the Morpheus for Ted Sarandos. He's beginning to believe.
Yeah, yo.
This is the kind of stuff, right?
Word up.
Yeah.
He's definitely beginning to believe. The dollar signs are definitely showering. And he knows the potential with what little they used of the resources. You get those kind of numbers.
Yeah, that's a great point because this basically was a word of mouth promo. It's not like they were putting trailers in the other movies saying that we were doing this. This was just entirely like relying on people online to get the word out. And look at what happened.
A plethora.
How much money did they spend on that?
Almost nothing. I mean, I think they spent a little bit on billboards because if you went to theaters, there were signs, right? There were posters that advertised this. So that's a little bit of analog money. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it's what we said. If you opened up your Netflix around the holidays, what did you see? You was plastered at the top of the app that it was going to be in theaters. Check your local listings, right? That's it.
It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Coogler, doing his X-Files is something he said he was going to do, and he's doing it. And I'm hoping to see what he has for X-File fans. I wasn't a huge fan of the X-Files, and not because I thought it was whack or anything. I just never got into it like that.
I loved it. The early seasons, I was a religious watcher of that show.
Okay. Yeah. James Cameron wants to ingest, obviously wants to assist in any way he can with Godzilla minus zero. Hopefully that translates into this is how much I think this is going to cost. Can you get it? And He-Man, man, it's like I can't really say much, yo, but do yourselves a favor, watch the first episode of the very first episode so you can see what the first episode was like. You're gonna be like, what? This is the first episode?
I have no memory of that. So when you said it to me, I drew like a total blank. Because when you say like Transformers, I know the first episode from the War on Cybertron, Getting to Earth, Teletran 1. Like I know that by heart. Yeah. And even like Thundercats, I kind of remember the intro to Thundercats pretty well. But you said He-Man first episode, I'm like, I have no recollection at all of how that series. Voltron, I remember.
But you'll remember the episode, but you're never going to believe that was the first episode.
That's crazy.
Because it could start anywhere.
He-Man so they just dropped you into it. Yeah. They just dropped you into it. That's so wild.
Yeah. But you'll never guess which one was the first episode. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you guys think. And remember, you haven't heard it anywhere else. You heard it here first on the Nerd Gen Report. We'll see you next time.